Yo, we are back, baby. We are back after a great week where Rem filled in very valiantly when we took a week off to the podcast because the Birds were playing. We know he came in and filmed it because the guy's not really a Birds fan, even though they were playing the Giants, one of his two favorite teams. But anyway, the commish is back, and I am ready to fucking go, baby. Fuck the standard format of the show with the recaps and the previews and all that fucking nonsense. We're jumping right into it. We're going to freestyle a little bit this week because it is a fucking crazy time in the BFFL right now. I might have thrown an extra F in there. That's my bad. First things fucking first. I'm excited. Let's talk about the most impressive performance of the week. Scratch that, the year. Fuck that. Of all fucking time in the BFFL. I'm talking about Black knocking off Wacky Boy 159 to 152, led by a whole bunch of huge games. Tyreek Hill, Melvin Gordon, but most importantly, that man, Black's fucking right-hand man for years now, Aaron Rodgers coming through in the clutch like he always does on Monday night, picking up that W. Wacky set the fucking single game high score record, and it still wasn't enough to win as Black broke that very same record in the same damn game and gave Wacky his first L of the season. I don't know if you people really understand how insane that is. That record stood for like 3 years now. Tom's had that record, and it got broken 2 times. Not only in the same fucking season, and not only in the same fucking week, in the same fucking game. Wacky scored 152 fucking points, and it wasn't enough to win. This fucking league is explosive, it's fucking high scoring, and it is wide the fuck open right now, baby. This is anybody's league to win, seriously. There are 6 or 7 fucking teams who can win the whole thing. Depending on who you ask. Honestly, it's never been this balanced. Anybody can win. Black can win it. Wacky can win it. I could win it. Rocco could definitely win it. Danny could win it. Boost could win the whole thing. And some people might honestly even see Tom as a contender to win the whole thing. Let's fucking go, baby. This thing is super fucking tight. It's going to be fucking awesome down the stretch. I'm fucking cursing a whole lot. But I'm pumped, man. It's a great, great season. And I cannot wait to see how this thing plays out down the stretch. All right, let me get a deep breath. Let me just relax for a second, all right? So on today's show, we're going to, profile each of the top 6 teams. I know I said there may be 7, but really I see it right now. There's 6 contenders. I'm not going to count Tom out, but we're not going to profile his team. We're going to do some in-depth previews of that. We'll catch you up on a few things that happened while we were off. Let's get right into that. Couple weeks ago, Danny took down Boost in the big rivalry matchup week 5. That's always an exciting game, so we definitely feel like we had to update the people about that one. Obviously, as I mentioned earlier, Black gave Wacky his first L. Ding dong, Wack's streak is dead. The commish, your boy, he brought his team back to 3-3 and starting to look like one of the top teams in the league again, as he should be. Odell Beckham was dealt back to his lover, Vinny Busa, and the RMD Reggie Smokers, so I know he's got a fucking boner about that. And unfortunately, we had the death of our first 2 teams in Carter's Killers and the Old Dirty Bastards. While they aren't officially eliminated, to me, they're fucking dunzo. So I guess this will be their obituary. R.I.P. And due to this rough start, we had ODB unload most of their draft picks most of their players for future draft picks. They're going into the tank. That's pretty much all we've had, and that leads us to one of our favorite segments, the Indiana Joe's Jabroni of the Week, brought to you by Indiana Joe's. And as I just mentioned, I got to give it to Richie. I just think he dumped his team off way too early. As a matter of fact, if he hadn't traded Devontae Adams, he actually would have won the game against Danny. He'd be at 2-4 and just one game out of the playoffs. He still had a good roster. While me, of all people, can definitely respect and understand why you would tank, as I did it just a few years ago, I do think it still was a bit early, but to each their own. See you next year, Rich. We know you'll be back. You're always, one of the top teams in this league, so we respect you for that. But for now, you have earned the Indiana Joes Jabroni of the Week. Brought to you by Indiana Joes. On to our next segment. It is the commish picks. I am a very, very respectable 18-12 on the year after a 4-1 week last week. This week, I like Wacky to bounce back after a tough loss last week. I like myself in a very close one over Boost and the RMD Reggie Smokers. I like Rocco over Tom. I like Black to keep that momentum train rolling after his big win and pick up another W over the winless Carter's Killers. And I like Kev to get back in the win column and tie that slap bet up with Tom. And those are your commish picks. And that brings us to another great segment. It is the Arctic Splash Ice Cold Performance of the Week. And it goes to the team I played last week, Tom and the 41-33 squad. They only put up a mere 70 points and got absolutely smoked by yours truly. Gonna take more than that, buddy, or it looks like Kev is gonna be smacking you right in the fucking mitt 3 times. I know you don't want that, Tom, and I know you can turn this thing around, brother. So this is a fucking wake-up call. Start getting it together. I really want to see you smack Kev, not the other way around. So let's do it. Speaking of Kev, here's a player that he traded me, and I actually have a quote from this guy this week. It is James Conner, and he said, and I quote, "I got you, bro. Fuck Lev Bell. Dude's a fucking crumb like Wacky or Danny. Lev ain't coming back, and even if he does, he gonna be on the bench like the bus coming. Shout out Wheezy. Fuck out of here, spectator ass dude." To be honest, I'm very encouraged by the words by my, right now, my star running back. I definitely don't want to see him on the bench, so I'm very encouraged by these words by James. I don't really care if it causes any further problems in the Steelers locker room. I mean, fuck them. That's their problem. It ain't mine. I don't got Lev Bell anymore, so fuck him. I hope he does stay out. So just stay on the field, James, and let's go get this chip, man. Let's go get this chip. All right, now we're going to do, before we get out of here, we're going to do our in-depth recaps of each team. Our in-depth grades for each team. And we're going to start out with Wacky Boy, and we're going to go position by position. For his QB, we're probably going to have to give him an A-. Jared Goff's been solid this year. Could maybe even be an A, but I like to keep in that A- to B+ range because their offense could slow down a little bit. They're off to a very hot start. You never know what's going to happen the rest of the season. As for his running backs, you got to give it an A+. Todd Gurley's a fucking beast. So, shout out Boost for giving him the Wacky for a bag of fucking chips. And Sony Michel is another good pickup by Wack. Good trade by him. For his wide receivers, Thielen's been really good. Sanders has been good. They're both not great. Thielen's in that range where he could consider be in next level elite type guy, but give it a respectable B+. His tight end, it's okay. I'm still a little wary of Greg Olsen coming back. He's supposed to be back this week, but we'll see what he can do. The guy's starting to get a little bit old. We'll give it a B-, something respectable too. And then the flex options, I was looking at it. I mean, Wacky, with Devonta Freeman going down, his flex options, it ain't super deep. So we'll give it a B, just a B. We'll give it a B. I think he's got Michael Crabtree in there. That's not doing nothing for me. He's got decent guys he can play in the flex, but none of them stand out. He's got a great roster overall, but those are his position-by-position grades. Next, we're going to move on to Black, and when it comes to his QB, the guy's probably got the best QB situation in the league. You got fucking Aaron Rodgers, your starter. You can never go wrong there. And then backing him up, he has a former MVP in Matt Ryan, who's actually having a low-key great season. The dude's been putting up big weeks pretty much every week, except for week 1 when he lost to the Birds. Shout out. Black's running backs are also very solid. It's a little more top-heavy because he does have Melvin Gordon. Tev Coleman, is going to benefit definitely from Devonta Freeman being out. So we'll give Black an A- there. Could even be an A, but it's not the deepest running back core of all time, but it is still very solid. And Melvin Gordon's an absolute fucking stud. For wide receivers, he's great. Tyreek Hill has been a great pick for Black. Might be, honestly, the value pick of the draft. He's got him. He's got Mike Evans, who's a beast. On to Black's tight ends. It's probably the one weakness this squad has. We'll give it about a C for that. And on to his flex options. It's actually really good. He got Alshon, as a flex option. It's probably an A-. He got a couple other guys he could plug and play there. Picked up Shady today, which is another good possible flex option. So he's got some options. We'll give him an A-. And we are on to Vinny Busa. His QB, we'll give it an A. It honestly could even be an A+, but I didn't feel right giving anyone other than Rodgers the A+. So we'll give him an A. Pat Mahomes, a young stud. I don't know if Vinny has a backup or not, but, he does. He's Andrew Luck. So it's a solid backup. Great QB situation. For Vinny's running backs, we'll give it a B+ range. They're solid. He's got Mark Ingram, Christian McCaffrey. He's a really good player. But the next position is where Vinny really is making his money. That is with his wide receivers. He's got DeAndre Hopkins and Odell as his two starters. So I have to give that an A+. It's great. I know the dude's loving it that he has Odell back. His tight ends is Trey Burton and somebody else. I forget who. I don't really care. We'll give him a B-. They're not the greatest tight ends. Trey Burton's like kind of a hit-or-miss guy. He seems to be this year. And Vinny's flex options, like I said, I didn't even mention he has Keenan Allen as wide receiver. That's a flex option. He has an A. So we have to give him an A for that. On to Danny. He's got Big Ben and Cam as his QBs. They're both solid. We'll give it a B+ because those guys both can be, inconsistent sometimes, especially Cam. We'll give his running backs. Honestly, it should be an A+, but fuck that. I'll give it an A because he has a Giant and a fucking Cowboy. So fuck him. He did revamp his wide receiver core, but in my opinion, it's still probably a B to maybe a B+. But we'll go with B because fuck Danny. His tight end, I like George Kittle a lot. We'll give it a B. And his flex options, he has Joe Mixon and a couple other guys he can plug and play. Kenny Golladay. So that's an A. We'll give him an A for his flex options. Really solid flex options there. For our boy Ricky and Dezoids, his QB situation's not great, but it's also not horrible. He's got two pretty reliable guys in Russ and Rivers. Rivers always slept on in fantasy. I'll give it a B. His running backs, he has Kamara, who's an absolute stud, and he made a couple good moves to add some depth this week, getting guys like Breida and Carlos Hyde. He has Chris Carson. Somebody else too. He picked up Lindsey off Denver. That's another good move. So we're gonna give it an A-. Like I said, he's top heavy with Kamara, but he also has some pretty good depth now. Actually, after making some pretty savvy moves. His wide receivers, not the greatest guys in the world, but they're still solid. He's got T.Y. Hilton. He's got Robbie Woods, who's an underrated guy. So we'll give him a B+ for that. His tight end, I really like Kyle Rudolph, so we'll give him a B+ for that as well. And then for his flex options, like I said, he has all those running backs that he can plug and play. Whatever ones aren't a starter, they could be in the flex. He also has Juju Smith-Schuster, who's a fucking very, very good player. So we'll give him an A- for that. He's got great flex options. And on to our last contender here. It is your boy, the commish. I got Tom Brady as my QB, so it's got to be an A. Could even be an A+, honestly. Like I said, Black's QBs are the head of the league, so got to be an A+ for him and him alone. So we'll give an A for Brady at QB. My running backs, they're not great, but it could be good depending on Connor staying on the field and also Dalvin Cook coming back. I got a couple other guys in the mix. So we'll give it a B for the running backs. My wide receivers are both studs in A.J. Green and Julio. It's got to be an A+, some of the best receivers in the league. My tight end, it's an A- right now for Gronk, but he could potentially be an A or even an A+. He is the best tight end in the league still, but he just needs to get his shit together. And my flex options, I'll give it a B. I got Cooper Kupp, got guys like Alex Collins or AP who could be in the flex. Not great guys, but okay guys. And fuck it, that pretty much wraps up this episode of BFFL Podcast. It's going to be a shorter episode than most. But go Birds, fuck Dallas, fuck Busa, God bless America, and most importantly, God bless the BFFL. Make a move!